We're back. Doug, central to our crime problem is the problem of gangs. Long Beach has about 5,000 gang members, 1% of the population. It's been that way for some time. I know your office has had some imaginative approaches, including gang injunctions, but speak to the problem of gangs.
Well, fighting gang violence is my #1 priority. And even though it's 1% of the population, that 1% commits an inordinate amount of crime. According to FBI statistics, gangs are responsible for about 50% of violent crimes nationwide, and in some communities they predict it's as high as 90%. I think Long Beach is probably one of those, where the vast majority of the violent crimes are gang-related. We in Long Beach have got to do a better job and put more resources on combating the gang problem for a couple of reasons. Number one, they commit a lot of the crimes. But the second reason, Long Beach has historically had a reputation for having gang problems, and if we don't really get a hold of that and control that, the perception will continue forever. And Long Beach will never move forward as a city until it gets a hold of the crime and gang problem.
I know you've used gang injunctions effectively, and that causes some of the members subject to the injunction to move out of town, you've mentioned on past shows.
Yeah, we're actually, Long Beach has become a model for the gang injunctions that we've been doing. Other cities are looking to us and how we do gang injunctions. We're using technology to target the most active and dangerous gang members, and we're also doing something that's kind of novel. By going after the Mexican Mafia, we can then target all of the street gangs that are affiliated with the Mexican Mafia. And that strategy alone, I think, has made a big improvement in the environment. I know that it has been responsible for the drop that we've had recently in gang-related shootings and in gang-related homicides. The fact of the matter is our gang strategy is working. I think we need to do more, though.
Does it make any sense to consider cameras in certain areas of town that sweep and capture any illegal acts and act as witnesses to the crime?
You know, I don't know. I think I'd want to look at that first, but there's no replacement for just good policing and having the resources, giving the resources to the police that they need to actually respond to these types of crimes.
I know you've historically been a big supporter, as have we, of programs like PAL, the Police Athletic League, and others that get youth on the right track and avoiding the possibility of getting into gangs. And sadly, PAL has been eliminated, other youth programs have been cut, and you pointed out, and I share that view, that it's pay me now, pay me later. If we shortchange these good programs where youth can get into the proper areas, we're going to have problems down the road. In addition to the problems we already have.
You are absolutely right, and the focus on the youth and at-risk youths is a very wise investment for a couple of reasons. Gangs are now recruiting kids as early as 11 and 12 years old. If we don't catch the kids early, we could lose them forever. It's estimated that about 80% of gang members are dropouts from school. Keeping them in school is very, very important. Keeping them active in activities that are not destructive is very important. The midnight basketball, those things work.
And your office has an active anti-truancy program related to that.
We actually do. We've actually done a lot in this area by targeting the kids who are missing the most schools, bringing their parents in for an office conference. We have a new law that allows us to target the parents. So it's no longer just the child who gets detention or gets in trouble if the child is missing school. The parent can be in trouble. We had to prosecute one parent for that child missing school, and it sent a message throughout the community to get your kids to school every day on time. That is the most powerful thing we can do to keep kids out of gangs, and that's keep them in school.
And every police chief that we've interviewed, and we've had at least half a dozen on over the last 20 years, have said that fighting crime is not just the responsibility of the police department or the prosecutor's office. We all in the community can play a role. And as you know, I'm active in the Long Beach Police Foundation, and speak to the value of that.
Well, I'm delighted to see the work that the Police Foundation is doing. They've kind of filled a void where there have been cuts in the police department. I know the Police Foundation focuses on youth and intervention programs and working with kids. They connect kids and the police department. I think that's a really smart investment. It's a wise investment. And I thank you for your service with the Long Beach Police Foundation, and I hope other people get involved as well, because it's a community effort. The whole city has to be involved in getting ahead of this problem.
We're all impacted by presence of crime in our community, and we all can be part of a solution, whether it's forming a neighborhood watch on your block, getting active in the police foundation, and you have a volunteer program in your prosecutor's office, which I thought was incredibly imaginative in these tough budgetary times.
Well, as I said, we've lost a lot of prosecutors. There's no way we could do it without bringing volunteer prosecutors in. And it's a win-win situation because an attorney, we actually bring in licensed attorneys. They volunteer 3 months of their life full-time for 3 months. They get great experience. They get trained on being a prosecutor. They actually get trial experience after they've been fully trained. Now, they're supervised by attorneys in my office at all times, but they get a great experience, and then we get the benefit of volunteer prosecutors, and they're doing a very good job.
And these are recent, bright graduates of the law schools who have taken and passed the bar exam, and they don't yet have an affiliation, and so they volunteer for 3 months. So you have free labor of bright young men and women for 3 months.
We get that, and they get a fantastic experience and great education they can then carry on to a legal career.
Great idea. We'll be back with more of our show after these messages. Doug, I know you're a devotee of the broken window theory, that you start with the little things. And Mayor Giuliani in New York City, when he became mayor, I, as a former New Yorker, remember the subways used to be covered with graffiti, buses covered, and he just said, no, this is going to end, and no bus, no subway could leave without the graffiti being cleaned off, and that and other things transformed the city, and you firmly believe in that.
Well, I do. I would call them quality of life crimes. They're not necessarily crimes of violence or crimes that the statistic keepers would think are very significant, but those little crimes, they add up, they compound themselves, and after a while a neighborhood that looks a certain way, that has the broken windows, so to speak, that has rundown housing, rundown commercial properties, it sends a message to everybody that no one cares about that block or that neighborhood. And what happens then is crime does move in and gets a foothold. And once crime takes over a block or a neighborhood or a community, it's very hard and very expensive to combat that. So you have to stop it before it starts.
And Mayor Giuliani coupled that with a very vigorous crime enforcement regime, and it really transformed the city. Do we need an act of will in Long Beach to say we want to stop this gang situation or really minimize it? Is that possible to do?
It is possible, and I honestly think Long Beach is moving towards that direction. We're working on it. We're making progress, especially in the gang problem, but we need to do more. The problem is right now with resources.
Yes.
The things that we would like to do, we just simply cannot do.
Well, everyone can help in addressing this problem, particularly at a time of shrinking city resources. Members of the community can step forward and do something on your block, your neighborhood, to collectively make the city safer.
Yeah, and Long Beach actually does have a lot of active neighborhood associations that even become more active as years go on, and I think that's a great way to combat that problem.
You were nice enough to write a guest column for our forthcoming issue of the Straight Talk magazine entitled "The Fight Against Gangs." Give us an essence of what you're saying in that.
Well, thank you for allowing me to write that article. It gives me an opportunity to address this problem, this gang problem, which a lot of people don't see. A lot of people in Long Beach think that the gangs are just a problem in one neighborhood or in one part of town. Well, the gang problem has the potential to affect all of us in a very dramatic way. And unless we can control the gang problem in Long Beach, no neighborhood is truly going to be
And the
safe.
mayor, to his credit, has said that from the get-go. In fact, he had his inauguration first term over on the west side to make, we're all in this together.
That's a very good analogy. We are all in this together. We are either going to become the city that we could become by working together, or we're always going to fail as a city. And but I do think we're moving in the right direction. We just need to work more on improving our neighborhoods and our streets here in Long Beach, and we can eradicate the crime problem.
You've been prosecutor now for 18 months. You were elected, took office in July of 2010. How do you feel about the job?
Well, it's a wonderful opportunity to make a difference in my community. You know, I have to thank the people of Long Beach for selecting me for this position. I think I'm doing a good job. I appreciate the opportunity that I have to actually work on the gang problem, putting gang injunctions in place to make neighborhoods safer. I get a great feeling, a rewarding feeling. Working on the truancy program that keeps kids in school, I know that that will pay dividends years from now. I feel like we're making progress, and it's a very rewarding feeling to know that we're actually moving the ball forward on these.
Doesn't it sometimes get frustrating, though, or even depressing when day after day you're dealing with not the most inspiring behavior in our society?
Well, unfortunately, like police officers, prosecutors do come in contact with the people that you and I would not come in contact with otherwise. But I will tell you that the rewards far outweigh the frustrations. And if I did not believe that we were making progress, that we were getting better as a city, I would not find this job as rewarding as I do. But I love the job, and I'm grateful for the opportunity.
You were a contract city attorney and contract city prosecutor before you were elected. Mm-hmm. Do you still get into court?
Yeah, I try to go to court as often as I possibly can. One of the things that I absolutely would like to do is try a case as a prosecutor. The last two prosecutors didn't get that opportunity to actually present a case to a jury. But I feel that that's very important for the prosecutor to be connected to the courthouse. And so I do go there. I talk to the judges quite a bit. And of course, I'm there to supervise my attorneys quite a bit, probably more than my predecessors.
But you would welcome the opportunity to actually try a case or two, which obviously you did for many years before you were elected to your current position.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what prosecutors do. They prosecute.
And someone once told, no, I won't tell that joke. Do you look forward to running again for re-election? Your term is 4 years, so you have about a little over 2 years more in the current term. Is it your expectation to again run for city prosecutor?
Well, it's far too early to guess about that, but I do believe the things that I need to accomplish will take some time, and so I'm not going to stop short if I think there are still goals to be met. But at this point, I'm kind of taking it month by month, Art.
Fair enough. Okay, we'll be back with the remaining portion of our show after these messages.
Take care of those who are closest to you, from our family to yours. McCarty's Jewelry, since 1932.
Long Beach is one of the few cities to have an independently elected prosecutor, which I think is a good idea. And I think we're also fortunate to having a man of the quality of Doug Haubert occupying that position here in Long Beach. So Doug, thank you for your service to the city, and have 30 seconds to say whatever you'd like.
Well, Art, thank you for having me again. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about these issues that are so important to the people of Long Beach. I think the most important thing to recognize is Long Beach is getting better. Long Beach has great potential. We have the potential to make this a truly outstanding place to live and raise a family and to hold a job, and I think we're working on it. We have a lot of work to go.
Amen to that. Thanks for joining us, Doug.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you at home for being our guest. Please join us next week for the next edition of Straight Talk. Good night, everyone.
Straight Talk has been brought to you by Southern California Edison, the Press Telegram, and remember, Straight Talk is viewable worldwide 24/7 at straighttalktv.com.